Andy, I know you've never been happier than when you're sitting by a warm fire, snuggled up in a flannel and basking in the glow of an old-school budget spreadsheet.
It is a special day I can shut down the world for a little me time.
In a world full of applications, why do these antiquated documents and spreadsheets still run the world? And why haven't they been updated in over 50 years? That's why we want to talk about Coda.
Coda is a new kind of doc that brings words, data, and teams together. It comes with a set of building blocks that anyone can combine to create a doc as powerful as an app.
Coda runs our entire business here at True Story FM, from show scheduling across dozens of podcasts and scripts for thousands of episodes, to budgets and plans and wikis and more.
Coda lets us see our business in a new light. If you'd like to shine a light on productivity in your business and save money along the way, check out Coda today at thenextreel.com/Coda. It's hard to believe that we've been having in-depth weekly conversations about movies since 2011.
So many great conversations over the years about so many great movies. All that said, producing this show week after week requires a ton of work behind the scenes.
Becoming a Next Reel member gives you access to all sorts of additional and exclusive content. Plus, you're helping us keep the lights on. Just head to thenextreel.com/membership, where you can learn more about becoming a member, which costs a measly $5 a month, practically the same as one fancy coffee drink. And you get so much more.
Every month, we record a bonus episode exclusively for members. Those episodes cover movies from whatever series we're covering at the moment, or add to previous series.
Some movies we've covered that only members get to hear us discuss include The Blues Brothers,
The Russia House,
Naked Lunch,
Independence Day,
The Hot Rock,
and Relic, the better one. Plus, members get to vote on what we're going to discuss for those episodes.
We also record additional pre- and post-show content in regular episodes that only members get to hear.
Like conversations about similarly themed movies.
And answering listener questions from our live member chat.
Speaking of our live member chat, we record almost all of our episodes in Discord, where members can chat right along with us live.
Members get access to other members-only channels in our Discord community as well. On top of all that, members get all episodes a full week earlier than everyone else in a private Next Reel feed just for them that includes all the shows in the Next Reel family. The Next Reel, the Film Board,
movies we like, Sitting in the Dark, and more new projects on the way.
To top it all off, members don't have to listen to ads. We've already eliminated those annoying, dynamically inserted ads that, let's face it, we all hated.
We are listening to you.
We love podcasting for a living, and those ads help to pay the bills. Now, we're counting on you, dear listener.
We promise we aren't going back to those terrible, dynamically inserted ads that don't relate to us at all. All we ask is that you consider supporting the Next Reel family of podcasts with a membership.
Again, it's $5 per month or $55 per year. Just head to thenextreel.com/membership.
thenextreel.com/membership. Get your access to early, ad-free episodes with bonus content, member bonus episodes, and access to member channels and live streams in Discord by signing up today.
Hey everybody, it's the Next Reel Shorts. We've got a special episode. I've got Andy Nelson here with me.
Hello everybody.
And we've got a little special discussion. We're going to be talking about the music of John Carpenter.
Oh yes.
So on Father's Day this month, Andy and I decided to abandon our families and go see a performance from John Carpenter. He was performing some of the pieces from his scores for his films, but also he's had two albums that have come out over the past couple of years called Lost Themes, which are original compositions by John Carpenter. So it was a nice evening of music, accompanied by film clips from the movies to accompany the scores, and it was just a really interesting filmic experience.
It definitely was. And John Carpenter was, he and his son and his son's band were playing all the music there for us, and it was really fun to see. And this is a tour that is actually still going on. It's been kind of cruising across the U.S., and it still is through the end or through mid-July. It's actually going to be tying it up here in the U.S. pretty soon, and then heading off to Europe for August through October, or actually into November. So it's definitely got a wide swath of dates across Europe, and I think anybody who enjoys listening to John Carpenter's themes should definitely look at getting tickets.
Unless you want to go on Halloween in London, that show is sold out, because I can imagine that there's nothing better to do than enjoy the music of John Carpenter on Halloween, to have him there present in all his black-clad glory up on stage, grooving behind his synthesizer. It was a really, I guess, energetic experience. The crowd really got into it when when some of the more recognizable and favorite themes were performed, but it was just clear that he's a man that loves his music and loves performing for the crowd.
Yes, he was. Absolutely. And it's funny. It was funny watching him and realizing, obviously he had a whole band playing it, but how simple to a certain extent his themes are. And maybe that's why people like them so much, because the main themes that he would play are relatively simple. But it was just fun to kind of watch him, because, I don't know how old he is now. Is he up in his 70s now? I mean, he's definitely up there. I think he's 68 right now. And he'd have a couple keys that he would have to deal with as far as his part of the music, and that's kind of it for each of the different songs. So it was the rest of the team kind of took the brunt of it, but it was kind of fun to watch him doing that, jamming out with his keys.
Yeah, because he was just sitting there, standing behind his keyboard, just sort of grooving and bopping along, and just you could tell he was in it.
Yes, he was.
After, enjoying the music that evening, we thought it might be a fun time to sit down and sort of talk about John Carpenter and his scores. He's got some of the most memorable film scores, particularly Halloween. People know that theme. It's become iconic. He's recognized for that. And it's, he is, as a filmmaker, has also taken on that responsibility of, contributing to the scores of his films, as well as sort of the whole package of, here's the story, he's directing it, but he's also creating that score that creates that atmosphere and mood of the film.
It's worth noting that John Carpenter is not John Williams when it comes to his film scores. In fact, if you go back and listen to the episodes we've talked about for his films, namely Christine, Escape from New York, and The Thing, I definitely, talk about how I am a little not that excited by his music. And I think what going to his concert and listening to his themes really kind of put perspective for me is that sometimes it's, he comes up with really memorable themes, and I really enjoy listening to his themes. His main themes for the stuff. I think as a composer, it's kind of the middle stuff. It's the music that kind of helps tie everything else together that may not be as strong as the themes themselves.
Oh, I think that's definitely the case. I recall when we were on the film board and we were discussing You're Next, there was a sequence in there where the music got that really 80s synth, sort of like John Carpenter, and it's something that just so it stands out. It rather than contributing to like an emotional thing. For me, that was drawing attention to itself, like as a reference to John Carpenter, because I think he does have a distinctive sound, which is a very synth driven, that may not always be the best choice for other times in the film. Definitely, that theme at the beginning to set the tone. But yeah, as you work your way through the film, his choice of instrumentation may not always be the most ideal.
No, but it has become almost a brand in and of itself. I mean, you can say it's a John Carpenter sounding score, and people pretty much know what it is. I mean, they even reference it in Paranorman, which was great to hear. And I think that there is something really, really interesting about the fact that he has kind of created that just a very iconic type of horror score. Even if it's not the best, it's still something that really is very well defined.
Well, one of his early films, which was The Fog, and the theme from that to me is one that stood out. What I hear, and I'm not a musicologist, I'm not a student of music, but what I heard with my amateur ears was I could hear a lot of things, and maybe it was the selection of the organ that was part of that, but it reminded me of a lot of the like classic horror monster movies from like the 50s, where there's like the Phantom of the Opera, drawing on that Bach and the organ music. There was that element to the theme in The Fog, which to me, I don't know if it was just him showing maybe his influences or where he's pulling from. He's definitely grown past that, but it was something that was refreshing for me because it does sound a little bit different. I could sort of track sort of the origins of his influences when going back to a movie like The Fog and hearing that in his construction of the theme.
Yeah, I think that what's nice about kind of what he does with some of his scores is that he does try to tie it into kind of something specific. Like that one did feel like it felt a little more gothic. It had kind of that more gothic horror sort of sense with the big organs, because it was kind of this, more of this big ghost story that he was telling. I really liked that. And if you look at something like Vampires, it definitely has a hint of a little more of a Western feel to it. And I mean, it's not always there in the stuff that he's doing, but I do like that he kind of, he will kind of try to work that stuff into them sometimes.
And then I guess, if we look at the themes that really stand out, I think the ones that he chose to perform live, I think are probably perhaps some of the most recognizable or the most memorable ones. And to see them with that footage, to me, really, it just created that. It made me want to go back and revisit those films again, because it's the combination of the clips, but then hearing that music there live just reminded me of how much I love some of those movies, or how strong a reaction I had to them. To see like Assault on Precinct 13, to hear that theme, as we sort of see the film sort of summarized through the clips there, just really captured, like, condense that film down into like a 3-minute, essence. It's like, here you are. And it I think the theme with that one really worked well with that, with the clips they had.
And that was early in his career. I mean, that was right after Dark Star, which, in my mind is a terrible, terrible film.
It's a student film, right?
Nothing more than a student film that really should not have ever been released to the public, but somehow it was. But anyway, Assault on Precinct 13, I mean, following up from Dark Star, and he does that. I mean, it's a very taut film, very energetic. And the score, I think in that film, the theme is just really strong and works really well.
Moving along in his career, though, then I think he almost hits the pinnacle of his career with Halloween, which is just 2 years after Assault on Precinct 13, and then he hits Halloween, which I think, a lot of that's probably his most well-known theme, one of his most well-known films that I think he'll be, most remembered for. Hearing that theme again, I mean, I think it's referenced so often. I think there's generations that have grown up without actually having seen Halloween that know that theme and know that it's associated with scary things.
Yeah, I mean, so much so that he didn't come back to direct any of the sequels, but he did come back to compose the music for at least Halloween 2 and 3, and was it H2O? It was one of the other ones, the later ones, that he came back to do again. And I think it's a testament to the fact that it was such an iconic bit of music. And I mean, that's one that it's just, I mean, it's so creepy. It works so well. It's so simple, though. I mean, it's such a simple piece of music, but it's an interesting one because I'm like you. I'm not a musicologist. I don't know all the terms, but it's like, was it like 5 beats per thing? I'm terrible with my music things, but it's like, it's got 5 as it's like 5/4 timer. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but
and then to see again, because it's been a long time since I've seen Halloween, and then to see those clips and then to realize again, the theme being so simple, and then looking at a film that things have become so over the top in the amount of like blood and gore and everything, and that this film is really just a lot of suspense, and I think the score contributes to that, of just putting you consistently at you're uneasy, you're on the edge, you're just really tense. And to me, that's, I don't know that I say that, I mean, yes, it's a terrifying movie, but I think it's that suspense that contributes to that. Of it's not a gory film. There's not, blood and body parts everywhere. It's really just that suspense of that relentless, faceless force chasing, the girl through the house. And that's just so powerful.
It is. And I mean, he really knows how to construct a film and knows how to kind of handle his horror in a way that works well. I think what's so interesting is just how he finds the right way to do that, and is seemingly pretty restrained with it. But then also, as far as the music goes, and Halloween might be a kind of a different one where I think I really enjoy the music all through Halloween, all the different themes and everything, and the way, I mean, it's nothing too complex, but it's still, all the little bits and pieces really work in that film.
Listening to after hearing these themes and getting excited about it, to go back and listen to the scores as a whole, I found myself like, I think I'm just going to go back to the theme again, because there's some of them where just it didn't really move me through the story, sort of, musically. Other themes, or it was, I mean, I think his pieces work well in the context of the film, but to listen to it in isolation from the film, just it doesn't work as well for me. And it's something where the themes will capture for me, I guess, the memory and essence of the film. Other pieces in the scores, not necessarily so much, that it's not like there's other themes that pertain to other characters or moments in the film. It's more of just supporting sound to create tension or emotion within that moment in the context of visually what's going on, but not something to be listened to like separate. Like, John Williams, you can listen to that whole score and you travel through that whole film. With Carpenter, not so much.
No, I agree. And I mean, look at, the Escape from New York or Christine. I mean, both of those I think are good cases that we've talked about on the show before, where I think the theme itself is pretty listenable, but the rest of the music, it really just is kind of getting you from here to there. And Christine, I mean, I think smartly, he actually chose to really focus a lot of the music on that in that film to actually the 50s classics that would come through Christine. And so his score wasn't quite as prevalent because there were so many other songs in there that kind of helped. Really, it was just almost storytelling through the music in that film. But I liked those two, and the way he kind of has good themes. But yeah, his the music itself in both of them doesn't really carry me. Now, on the flip side, though, Big Trouble in Little China, which he actually, we should mention, a lot of these scores he actually did kind of co-compose with, a lot of them with Alan, is it Howarth?
Yes.
And Big Trouble in Little China is one of those. And I will say, that's a score that I really just, I dig. There's something just kind of just kind of, I don't know, kick back and kick ass about the score.
Yeah, it's the tone of the film.
It's Jack Burton. I mean, it kind of embodies Jack Burton, right?
Exactly. We're not going for, a horror film. We're going for this buddy action comedy supernatural film. And I think that, the score, it captures that better. And maybe it's because it's a different tone that we're going for. That sets that one apart. But I don't, or maybe it's just, it's just such a great movie. It's that's been embedded. You enjoyed that film watching it. That just got embedded throughout that experience. I don't know. How old were you when you first saw Big Trouble in Little China?
I saw it when it came out in theaters. So I guess, I guess 13.
13. Yeah, that's one of those films where I think if you were a teenager, like 12, 13, first seeing that, that's one of those movies that just sticks with you. Yes. Like The Goonies, and it's just one of those coming of age fun movies. So,
and then he goes from that to Prince of Darkness, which is, I mean, talk about a complete tonal shift. I mean, that is like pure horror. I mean, that score. I don't know if I could remember the theme itself for that one. I know he played it at the show. I just remember everything about that movie. I find just super, super creepy, and that's one where I think that his music. Maybe the themes in that particular film don't matter so much, just because the fact that all of the music is designed to just really creep you out, and it works.
Well, I think it's got such powerful visuals in that film that, to me, they're just specific images that I will never forget from that movie, from seeing that when I was, I don't know, in middle school or early high school or whatever that came out of, seeing that, I think, on cable late at night one time, and wishing I hadn't stayed up so late to watch that, because it just creeped me out, and the strong visuals just, to me, overwhelmed that experience. That I don't recall the theme to that one as much.
No, but you're right. It's that one's the visuals in that one. Alice Cooper and all those homeless people like standing outside just staring.
Yes.
It still scares me.
So that was sort of, for me, like I guess that, and then They Live is sort of, for me, like the peak of his career, where things started to sort of transition, because I stopped watching his films as much, and for a while I thought maybe it's just I'd outgrown horror movies, because as a young, as a teenager, it's like fun to watch horror movies. It's fun to be scared, and my interest had moved into other things. So I wasn't watching as much John Carpenter. I definitely enjoyed They Live, but then he did the In the Mouth of Madness, which was one of the most bizarre theater-going movie experiences I've ever had in my life, because it's one of these. It's something that I think Tommy and JJ would have included in their Mindbender series, because it's one of those movies where when you get to the end of it, it's like, what just happened? What did I just watch? It was very strange.
And that's one I still haven't seen, so it's on my list of shame.
And again, another one where I think the visuals, really carry that film, and again, scores not so much, because it's not even one where I can go, oh yeah, it was the typical John Carpenter, this or that. It's one that I know he played a piece from that, but it's nothing that I remembered sticking with me as much. So
right.
Oh, somehow we skipped over The Thing.
Well, I think there's a few in his chronology, like The Thing, Starman, and Memoirs of an Invisible Man, and then even his last film, The Ward. Yeah. All of which he had somebody else actually do all of the heavy lifting and compose. It was Ennio Morricone, of course, for The Thing, who I think did an incredible score that sounded like one of the better John Carpenter scores that John didn't actually compose. But it's great. And Starman, I think, has just a really romantic theme that I really enjoy. I can't remember jack about Memoirs of an Invisible Man. As far as the score goes, I don't know. I didn't listen to that one. The Ward, though, I really do enjoy that one. So I mean, he's had some good people coming in to do some work with him. But yeah, The Thing, I think that's just really strong music that, again, it's, it sounds like his. It's just, I think he worked well with Ennio Morricone to come up with something that was a little bit stronger.
So he's transitioned from, it's almost like he's retired from filmmaking, because his last film was, I think it was The Ward, which was like 6 or 7 years ago.
That was 2010, yeah.
Yeah. But he's moved on to doing these Lost Theme albums. And I found there's quite a few pieces in there that to me are really powerful and really moving themes sort of on their own. And I wish there was almost like a short that he would make to go with these, because I'm really enjoying some of the Lost themes, and to hear some of them live was great to know that there's those pieces that can stand alone, separate from a film, that he can compose that sort of, there's a story or a mood that are coming across strongly in those that I enjoyed as well.
Yeah, he creates they have really good sense about them, and I really enjoyed listening to them. I think it was, I can't remember if it was Entertainment Weekly or somebody, when they reviewed his first album when it came out, but they said, these are the best themes that John Carpenter wrote for his films in the 80s that were never made for films in the 80s. But they feel that way. They totally feel like they are pulled from something, and they're I don't know. I think that it's a really great pair of albums to just sit back and listen to. They all are just really great themes, and I think it speaks highly to the fact that he is a composer that can come up with individual iconic pieces that work well. Really kind of by themselves, but in the end, weirdly, they all work well together, even if they don't, they're not of the same part.
Yeah, exactly. So it's something that I think definitely worth checking out. If you enjoy, John Carpenter's themes, the Lost theme albums are definitely worth giving a listen to. I think if you have the opportunity to see him live, it was something that I really enjoyed. I haven't been to any of these. I know a lot of times there's different concerts where there'll be, film scores with, footage projected. So this is my first time at an experience like this, and it's something that I really enjoyed, just not only as a fan of the film, but just, live music, to see that performed and then accompanied by the film footage. I know that they've done, like there's Harry Potter ones. There have been ones, I think, oh gosh, maybe when I was in college, there was one that was like the Bugs Bunny films. So it's definitely sort of a unique experience to see, films in a different context. To hear that music live is definitely, I think, an enjoyable experience that people should check out.
Yeah, I've taken the kids to a number of them. For like, there was a Pixar one that I took the kids to, a Star Wars one. There was some other composers. I mean, we've done a variety, but they're always just so much fun to listen to. I know Phoenix Symphony does those shows. I'm sure other symphonies around the country and around the world really do all of that. But it's a lot of fun kind of focusing on a composer like this. And I mean, it was even better having John Carpenter there doing it, and just kind of, he didn't say a lot about anything in between, but he had a few little bits and pieces. And that was always fun. What was it that he said right before he did Halloween? He's like, I make horror movies. I love horror, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it kicked off with Halloween, which is
the crowd went wild for that. And then the other where he mentioned it was his fifth collaboration with this person, and they had a great time making this movie, and they went off and they got into some big trouble, which led into Big Trouble for Little China, and the crowd just went crazy for that. Yeah, he didn't have to say much. Nope. About his pieces. No story. I think he did play the theme from The Thing, and explained that was not one that he had composed himself, but sort of fit that one in. But it was a really good experience. I had a great time, and had a great time talking with you, sort of revisiting the John Carpenter scores.
Yeah, it's a lot of good stuff, a lot of good themes. Like we've said, the albums themselves are a little, they might not always be the most listenable, but I mean, his themes are great. It's really fun to listen to them. It's fun to just kind of get into that kind of, there's a real kind of 80s synth vibe that they all have that I think is just kind of fun when you really get into it and just kind of click with that music.
All right. Well, I guess it's time to wrap it up.
Yeah, I guess so. But it was fun chatting more about it and revisiting his music once again. Well, I don't know how to sign off on a unique short like this, Andy. So I guess it's just time to say goodnight. All right. Well, enjoy listening to Carpenter. I don't have anything. I'm not even sure what to say at the end of this either.
You have no witty retort. You don't.
I don't.
You're not going to go assault Precinct 13. You're not going to go escape from New York.
I'm going to go escape from LA.
I love the conversations that so many of our hosts have had on their shows. Stephen JJ on Trailer Rewind, Ray and Ocean on Silver Linings, even Tommy's short-lived Wait, Hear Me Out.
So many listeners want to make sure they've watched the movie before tuning in to any discussion on our podcasts. Well, you know, the best way to watch the movie is to look it up on our watch page.
Our watch page lists all the movies that we have discussed on all the shows from the Next Reel's family of podcasts, including the one you're listening to right now. It's your one-stop shop for Apple and Amazon links where you can rent or buy the movie.
Trailer Rewind movies like Raw,
The Nice Guys,
The Peanut Butter Falcon,
or Free Fire.
No, Wait, Hear Me Out movies like Josie and the Pussycats or Return of the Living Dead.
Or Silver Linings movies like Repo Men, Daredevil, and The Wolfman.
Plus, by using those links to rent or purchase movies, Apple and Amazon will show us a little bit of love, which allows you to support our family of shows with minimal effort.
It's a great way to support the show and find something to watch.
That's right. Head over to thenextreel.com/watch to pick out your next movie and start watching today.